Hi everyone. This is what happened to me when I got government housing part 33. So it was on the 7th of the 10th, 2016 that I received the charge and summons sheet in the mail. By that stage, I had been repeatedly assaulted, stalked, and verbally abused by the respondent. He had also driven a vehicle into me and dumped buckets of water on me, and a lot of other things. I'd also been yelled at by the respondent's lawyer and had the police treat me like a criminal when I rang them for assistance. Like, for example, when my washing machine was smashed in. I had made several complaints against the police, and I believe that the charge that I received was a retaliatory charge because of the complaints that I had made against them. Being charged cemented my idea that the people who worked in the justice system were completely self-serving and that there was no point in dealing with them. I resigned myself to the idea that I would have to wait until I had my compensation hearing to have my voice heard. I believed that the judge would read my evidence and see what the respondent had done and award me compensation and refer the incidents to the police, and the respondent would be charged and I would be safe. But that's not what happened. As you know, I didn't get compensation, and my court hearing didn't end up being about the incidents contained in my evidence. But we'll get into that later. I lived in fear of being assaulted by the respondent, and now that I got charged, I lived in fear of getting a big fine for breaching the order that the respondent had against me. I also feared that being charged would affect my compensation hearing. By that stage, I had already spent hundreds on computer ink and other administration costs, and I'd lost my washing machine and dryer, and I'd pay for a holiday that I couldn't really afford, and everything that happened had sent me into extreme poverty. I needed to get compensation just to keep my head above water. If I was fined, that would have affected the rest of my life and probably the rest of my daughter's life. I was under a huge amount of stress and I had no one to help me, and I couldn't talk about what was happening to me because I was scared that it would affect my case. I made a complaint against another police officer who had previously refused to take a statement from me, and I considered contacting IBAC. I felt that I had to contact IBAC because complaints against the police would be hand-passed back to the station that they worked at, and instead of being dealt with, I would face further resentment from the police who were involved. I went to the Darebin Community Legal Centre and I was told that I had to find a private lawyer. And this is despite the fact that I told them that I was a pensioner and a single parent. Although the person that I spoke to was very polite, the other lawyers at the centre made me feel unwelcome, and I got the impression that they wouldn't help me if they could, and they claimed that they couldn't. I was being told to move along, in the same way that the police had shooed me away from the station when I tried to make a statement, and in the same way that the respondent tried to shoo me away from the block of units that I lived in. I was completely degraded and completely lost. I rang the Heidelberg Magistrates Court, which was where my charge was going to be heard, and I asked for an adjournment because I didn't have a lawyer, and they refused. So now I knew that I had to attend court on my own, again, after everything that I had already been through. By the 16th of the 10th, 2016, I felt like I was drowning under everything that had happened to me and under all the noise that the respondent was making and under the rubbish and under all the obstructions that he would leave around the block. He was converting his minibus into what looked like a food van. And once again, people need to understand how that affected me. It was bizarre that someone living in public housing would own a minibus and have the gall to park it at the block for starters. But on top of that, he had painted that minibus with scenes from cartoons, and that made me feel like I was imagining things. Every time I saw the minibus, I felt sick with confusion, and all the noise that he made added to that. I have a video that I made on the 16th of the 9th, 2016 that demonstrates what I mean when I say that it was noisy. I'll play it to you now so you know what I'm talking about. So as you can see, I filmed myself leaving the unit, which is what I had to do every day to get out safely. And I filmed myself walking away from the respondent's minibus to make sure he didn't jump out and attack me. I was also filming because I knew that I'd be going into court and saying that he was doing those things. So I wanted to prove what I was saying. I tried to make photographic and video evidence of as much as I could to prove what was happening. And because people in the justice system kept fobbing me off and implying that I was exaggerating about how bad it was, or even accusing me of being a liar. And ironically, that's what ended up happening at my compensation hearing, after everything that I had done to show that what I was saying was true. So that brings us back to the 16th of the 10th, 2016. And I made a video of the respondent's woodwork, which was left on the balcony, to prove my claims about him sawing and hammering all the time inside his unit, which was directly above mine. You saw how noisy the noise was coming from the minibus when I was walking past it, but it was also like that inside my unit all the time, because the respondent seemed to be using his unit as a workshop. So I'll play that video for you now. So that's the end of today's video, and hopefully by this stage you've got some idea of what I was doing and why I was doing it. And I'll just put up the disclaimer, and I'll also put up the next video as soon as I can.